Dear friends, this is episode number 59. We have dealt with rules 1 and 2 of Order 39. The rest of the rules we will see. We will see up to rule 5 and then we will go to the decisions pertaining to the subject up to rule 5. And then we will come back and deal with rule 6 onwards. See, then in the courts, what is of constant application is up to rule 5. Rule 6 onwards, very few cases. It is not a common thing. Now we will see rule 2a. Consequence of disobedience or breach of injunction. In the case of disobedience of any injunction granted or other order made under rules 1 and 2. So this 2a deals with injunction or orders passed under rules 1 and 2. Or breach of any of the terms on which the injunction was granted or the order was made. The court granting the injunction or making the order, or any court to which the suit or proceeding is transferred, may order the property of the person guilty of such disobedience or breach to be attached, and may also order such person to be detained in civil prison for a term not exceeding 6 months, unless in the meantime the court directs his release. So what are all the ingredients of rule 2a? Now we will see sub-rule 2 also, then come back. No attachment made under this rule shall remain in force for more than 1 year. At the end of which time, if the disobedience or breach continues, the property attached may be sold, and out of the proceeds, the court may award such compensation as it thinks fit to the injured party, and shall pay the balance, if any, to the party entitled thereto. Now, what are the ingredients? 1. There must be disobedience. Of what? Of injunction granted or other order made under rules 1 and 2. Or there must be breach of any of the terms on which the injunction was granted or the order was made. So one is disobedience of injunction or order under rules 1 and 2, or breach of any of the terms on which the injunction was granted or the order was made. Both these things come under that. Disobedience is one thing, sometimes there may be overlapping, or breach of any of the terms on which the injunction or order was granted. That also comes in under rule 2a. What shall the court do? The court granting the injunction or making the order, or the transferee court, may order the property of the person guilty of such disobedience or breach to be attached. So attachment of property. 1. 2. And it is not or. And may also order such person to be detained in civil prison. For what term? Not exceeding 6 months, unless in the meantime the court directs his release. Now what happens to the attachment? The attachment is made of what? Of the property of the person guilty of such disobedience. That is to be attached. This is to compel him to obey. That his property will be the person who disobeys the order of the court or commits breach of the order. Then his property will be attached, kept as such, which can go up to 1 year. That is to pressurize the person who is to obey the orders of the court to obey the order or injunction. Now, sub-rule 2 says 1 year, at the end of which time the disobedience or breach continues. Then what should be done? The property attached may be sold, and out of the proceeds, the court may award such compensation as it thinks fit to the injured party. Who is the injured party? In whose favor the injunction or order was made and which was breached or disobeyed. Who did it? The opposite side did it. The property of the opposite side who committed the breach or violation or disobedience will be attached, and it will be sold. And what will be done out of the sale proceeds? The court will fix a compensation to be paid to the person who is the injured person. Who is the injured? The person who got the order of injunction but which was disobeyed or which was breached. And the balance, if any, shall be given back to the other person whose property was sold. This is 2A. 2A was inserted by 1976 amendment. That is to be noted. Before that, that was not there. Inserted. Now, we'll come back to all these rules and we'll refer to some of the decisions because it is important. Rule 3. Before granting injunction, court to direct notice to the opposite party. That is a heading. Let us see what it is. The court shall in all cases, except where it appears that the object of granting the injunction would be defeated by the delay, before granting the injunction, direct notice of the application for the same to be given to the opposite party. So, notice shall be given to the opposite party. I file a suit against you today for permanent prohibitory injunction or for some other relief. I also apply for temporary injunction for some relief. Notice shall be issued to you. Normal rule is that the court will not grant an interim order, ad interim order, without issuing notice, except where it appears that the object of granting the injunction would be defeated by the delay. I am apprehending that my building will be pulled down. I apprehend that valuable trees from my property will be cut and removed. Or the nature and character of my property will be changed completely. Or there may be something may be done by the other party to destroy my property. Suppose the suit is for, your property is my neighboring property, just on the side of it. You dig to a depth of 15 feet, 20 feet like that on the boundary. My property may collapse. It may lose its lateral support. What can I do? I can approach the court and sue you for injunction, restraining you. All the questions will be decided, whether lateral support will be lost, whether you can be injuncted, whether I have got a right to get that order, all those things will be decided. But it is of imminent danger that you have deployed 10 JCBs in your property. A commissioner is appointed emergent. He finds that. And you are doing hectic activities so that my property and the house thereon may collapse. So that is the court powerless? No. The court has power to grant an ad interim order of injunction which may be necessary in the circumstances. What is that? The object of granting the injunction would be defeated by the delay. The court says that I will issue notice, I will comply with all those formalities, then only I will grant injunction. The other man digs his own property, but my property collapses. Notice will go, after 2 weeks or 1 week it will be returned, by that time my property will go. Or you trespass, the allegation is that the defendant may trespass upon my property and cut valuable trees. Court does not grant injunction, only notice is issued. The defendant may trespass upon my property and cut down trees. What can be done? No repair can be done. I cannot be compensated. Of course, disobedience under Rule 2A, we have seen that your property can be attached. You are the defendant. Your property can be attached and the property can be sold and I can be given compensation. But that may not always be proper, always be sufficient, adequate, so that if at the correct time it is prevented, the situation can be saved. It is said that a stitch in time would save 9. So a stitch is necessary at the appropriate time. A stitch in time will save 9. 9 stitches thereafter. So that at the appropriate time, the court has power in appropriate circumstances, in the facts and circumstances of each case where it is warranted. The court has power. Power does not lack at all. The heading is that before granting injunction, court to direct notice. Correct? Inside the rule itself also provides that the court shall in all cases, except where it appears that the object of granting the injunction would be defeated by the delay. Now, proviso. Provided that where it is proposed to grant an injunction without giving notice of the application to the opposite party, the court shall record the reasons for its opinion that the object of granting the injunction would be defeated by the delay and require the applicant. So, if the court finds that it is necessary in the circumstance of the case to grant an ad interim order of injunction before you are served with notice, court may grant it, but court must be satisfied that there are adequate reasons. 2. Court shall record reasons for its opinion. Opinion for what? That the object of granting the injunction would be defeated by the delay. If delay occurs, the act complained of may be done. Alleged illegal act or unlawful act or injurious act may be done. If it is done, thereafter, if the court grants an injunction, what is the use? So, the injunction, if not granted at the appropriate time, and any delay that may occur in that process, would be defeated by the delay. The object of granting injunction would be defeated by the delay if you send notice. That delay. So, if the court is satisfied and it records the reason that I am granting an ad interim order of injunction because I am satisfied, I am of opinion that the object of granting injunction would be defeated by the delay, then the interim injunction can be granted. Then require the applicant. That is not enough. If the court grants it, ad interim order of injunction, without issuing notice to the other side, there are certain mandatory requirements to be satisfied by the party who applies for injunction. Require the applicant to deliver to the opposite party or to send to him by registered post immediately after the order granting the injunction has been made, a copy of the application for injunction. So once that ad interim order is granted, it shall deliver, the applicant shall deliver to the opposite party or send to him by registered post. What? A copy of the application for injunction, together with one copy of the affidavit filed in support of the application, copy of the plaint, and copies of the documents on which the applicant relies. That is one condition. Court, for reasons to be recorded, says that I am satisfied, I am of opinion that the object of granting the injunction would be defeated if delay occurs. Therefore, I am granting interim injunction without issuing notice before service of notice. That is granted. The applicant cannot take the order and go leisurely. No. What he has to do? Deliver to the opposite party or send by registered post. What? The application. Plus the affidavit in support of the application. Plus a copy of the plaint. Plus copy of the documents on which the applicant relies. All these things should be delivered or sent by registered post to the opposite party. Immediate. Then B, one more thing. To file on the day on which such injunction is granted, or on the day immediately following that day, an affidavit stating that copies of the aforesaid have been so delivered or sent. See, with promptitude it should be done. So an affidavit shall be filed. These documents are to be delivered or sent by registered post. And then the applicant has to file an affidavit on what day? On the same day on which injunction is granted, or on the day immediately following that day, that is tomorrow. What? Stating that the copies aforesaid have been delivered or sent, and proof of the same shall be produced. If it is not done, that order will be discharged. That we will see. Order of injunction may be discharged, Rule 4. Then we will come back to Rule 3A. 3A we will come back later after reading Rule 4. Order for injunction may be discharged or varied or set aside. Any order for an injunction may be discharged or varied or set aside by the court on application made thereto by any party dissatisfied with such order. I am dissatisfied with the order granted against me, that is not enough. That only I am dissatisfied clothes with me with the right to apply. And the court has power to do what? Discharge, vary or set aside. Provided that if in an application for temporary injunction or in any affidavit supporting such application, a party has knowingly made a false or misleading statement in relation to a material particular, and injunction was granted without giving notice to the opposite party, the court shall vacate the injunction unless for reasons to be recorded it considers that it is not necessary so to do in the interest of justice. So if you apply for injunction, you have to come with clean hands. You cannot suppress material facts. You cannot say a falsehood and try to snatch an order from the court. Once it is done, that is a ground for vacating, discharging the order of injunction. Shall vacate the injunction. Unless, of course, in the interest of justice, the court finds that in spite of that misleading statement, in the interest of justice, it is necessary to retain that order. The court has power. That is a power of the court. What is that? The applicant has made a misleading statement, and that misleading statement has, in relation to what? Misleading statement in relation to a material particular, and the injunction was granted without notice to the opposite party. That is, immediately injunction was granted. Ad interim order of injunction was granted. So the other party did not get an opportunity to refute your allegations, to say that what you have stated are misleading statements. If he points out, that is a ground for denying. The court will not assist. Section 41 of the Specific Relief Act. The court will not come to the assistance of a party who has done some, who is indulging in such contumacious conduct, disabling himself from getting the help from the court. Therefore, you go on misleading, you suffer. Court will not help you. A material particular, a false statement is made, or a misleading statement is made, he is not entitled to. This is an equitable remedy. Those who want to get equity must do equity. So, this one thing, the court has power to discharge, vary or set aside on the application by any party dissatisfied with the order. That can be done. Then second proviso, provided further that where an order for injunction has been passed after giving to a party an opportunity of being heard, the order shall not be discharged, varied or set aside on the application of that party, except for discharge, variation or setting aside has been necessitated by a change in the circumstances, or unless the court is satisfied that the order has caused undue hardship to that party. We have seen that the power of the court to discharge, vary or set aside an order passed without notice to the opposite party. Where notice has been issued and the order of injunction was passed after giving the opposite party an opportunity of being heard, then that order will not be varied or set aside. That order will not be discharged, varied or set aside, unless there are change of circumstances, in which case it is proper. There are changes of circumstances which may occur. Various circumstances. We can't say a straight jacket formula cannot be made on that. What are all the various circumstances? Circumstances which justify variation of the order, which justify discharge of that order, which justify setting aside that order. That may be a ground. Or unless the court is satisfied that the order has caused undue hardship to that party. An order of injunction was granted after hearing the opposite party. Therefore, normally the court will not set aside, vary or discharge that order unless there are change in the circumstances. But still, even if there is no change of circumstances, if the court finds that the order has caused undue hardship to the party against whom that order was made, the court may vary, discharge or set aside. There is no harm. So one, the court has power to discharge, vary or set aside. The first proviso says that the party has knowingly made a false or misleading statement in respect of a material particular. This is the expression. A party has knowingly made a false or misleading statement in relation to a material particular, and the injunction was granted without notice to the other party. The court will vacate the injunction unless the court finds that the interest of justice, in spite of your false or misleading statement, it is necessary to retain that order which was passed by the court. It may do so in the interest of justice. Otherwise not. Party cannot say anything. It is the interest of justice that matters. The party, having made a misleading statement or false statement with respect to a material particular, he has no right to say anything. That is, the court is not a place where these equitable reliefs are granted, discretionary reliefs are granted to make a false and misleading statement and dupe the court. It is not. That is not the proper thing. And the second proviso says that if order was passed after issuing notice to the other side and hearing him, the court will not normally vary, discharge or set aside the order unless there are change in the circumstances or the order passed by the court is satisfied that that order has caused undue hardship to the person against whom it was passed. These are all, see, the word undue hardship. What is undue hardship in a particular case depends on the facts and circumstances of each case. The parliament cannot contemplate all their situations. This is an undue circumstance. This is an undue hardship. This is an undue hardship. Court cannot. The law cannot provide for it. So it is for the court, in the facts and circumstances of the case, to decide what is undue hardship in the particular case and whether the party has suffered undue hardship because of the order which was passed against him. Then we will come back to Rule 3A. Where an injunction has been granted without giving notice to the opposite party, the court shall make an endeavour to finally dispose of the application within 30 days from the date on which the injunction was granted. And where it is unable so to do, it shall record its reasons for such inability. So what the law contemplates is disposal of the application for temporary injunction with promptitude, with speed, immediately, within 1 month, unless the court records its reasons why it was unable to do. See, there are two things. I have got a request to dear advocates. Don't misunderstand. The law has made this provision. You got an order of ad interim order of injunction, your party. Then you must be always ready to argue the application. When the other side comes, it is not for him to pressurize the court and to see that, bring the attention of the court to this rule and say that it is to be argued today itself and all those things. Having got an order of injunction without notice to the opposite party, any attempt to protract is not good. Your party may be pleased for a short duration, but in the long run it is not good. In the long run, what is good is that, yes, my party has got an ad interim order of injunction without notice, so I should be always ready. I was appearing for that party. I should be always ready to argue that application, so that the court will have faith in you, respect for you. In the long run, that faith and respect matters. Faith and respect matters. Young lawyers, I got this from experience. I am saying there is a belief, and some people say that whenever senior lawyers appear, the court will lean in favor of the senior lawyers. And you are bound to lose if you are a junior lawyer, a youngster. I will say that this is not a correct statement at all. If you are a young lawyer and if you are dutiful, learned, hardworking, cooperating with the court, ready always, not misleading, helping the court in disposal of it efficiently, the fact that you are a youngster, the fact that you are a young lawyer is an additional point for you. The court will always be leaning in your favor. This I am saying from experience. A lawyer must have a stature. That stature is not by age alone. That stature is to be created, is to be earned and cultivated and earned. How to cultivate it is not by pretension. It is by genuine manifestation of your good nature, your learning, your skill. Why certain lawyers of the Supreme Court, very senior lawyers of the Supreme Court, even if they are offered crores of money, they will not tell a falsehood before court. Their word is taken as deed. A word stated by a lawyer, a statement made by him, there should be no occasion for saying no by the opposite party. My friend is saying it must be correct. That is the respect, that is a stature which we want. One more thing I may add. Whenever an admission is made on behalf of the party by a lawyer, going by the circulars issued by the High Court, the judge has to get a signature, an endorsement by you that you have conceded this. In the lower courts, in the High Court it is not so. High Court, the lawyer says, I concede, recorded, that is enough. No signature is enough. Why such a circular or rule was made? Because having made a concession before court, having made a statement before court, it is challenged before the appellate or revisional court, saying that nothing of that sort happened in court. That necessitated such a position. Supreme Court had also in some decisions said that what transpired in a particular court, you cannot say, you cannot deny it. And the order records that this is what transpired before court. That statement cannot be challenged before the appellate court. If you want to challenge that statement, you have to file an application for review in the same court. That is to protect the dignity of the court. So I am taking this opportunity for 2 minutes because tomorrow in the next episode I will be going to the decisions. Therefore this chance I thought, because equitable reliefs are being granted, and it is also stated that false and misleading statements should not be made by the party, should not be made. The lawyer should not be a party to such things. Knowingly you should not. So that adds to the glory of the profession. Yes. Now, Rule 5, injunction to corporation binding on its officers. An injunction directed to a corporation is binding not only on the corporation itself, but also on all members and officers of the corporation, whose personal action it seems to restrain. Corporation is a company incorporated. It is binding on all the members and officers of the corporation. Now, in the next episode, we will be dealing with the principles, the decisions, which are absolutely necessary for the day-to-day functioning. Thank you. We will meet again.